So, this is our second conversation today. I know the life you lead is very dynamic.
Very.
So, I can only imagine what's happened. It's probably been a year or something since we sat down.
It was end of April, I think, last
Okay.
year.
Yeah. So, a little over a year.
Yeah.
You spend your time in different countries. You've got Florida, Costa Rica. We were just talking about Spain. I know in Costa Rica, last time we talked, there was some 5-MeO DMT happening down there. Has anything progressed in that area since we spoke last?
I mean, we still do these retreats and still have beautiful results with them. Still one of the most beautiful medicines that is out there. Also the scariest one. And we're experimenting with the quantum energy and the medicine together and how to facilitate. And so we need less medicine and get the same results and things like that. So it's also finding ways how it can be less dramatic and less scary, because if everybody we facilitate now in a way where we do microdoses first before they each go in their individual full round. And that takes already so much resistance from the ego away that it's a really beautiful opening then that you have with the medicine in your full, when you just sit down with all your anxiety and all of not just anxiety. Some people have fear. I had fear that I felt like my heart is pumping through the roof of my head the first time. Actually, not the first time, but the second time. The first time I didn't know what was coming, but the second time was really, I had so much fear. And so when you just have a little bit of medicine, then it's not such a shock to the ego to have to let go. So we're like experimenting with different ways to facilitate full dose, because that's what we're doing. A lot of people facilitate microdose or like smaller doses, and they also have so much healing effect. But what really is fundamentally changing life is the full dose experience. And that one, to have less resistance and more healing from the medicine is so much better when we soothe with microdose first and then go into.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
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 When people have asked me about, my experience or what, not that I recommend how people should or shouldn't use plant medicines that's not a plant medicine, but I think of Bufo as, it's like, there's not even a word for it because it's beyond psychedelic.
It's
not a plant medicine.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to come up with a word that expresses supernatural. That's what it
Yeah.
is to me. It's just
Yeah.
beyond
Yeah.
this realm of reality entirely. But people ask me, and my advice is usually, I'm not going to tell anyone to do it, but if they're already planning it, I say, just make sure you take a big enough hit. Because if you get caught in the in-between and you're not fully out, it can be super scary. But
Yeah.
if you take a big enough dose, then you can't resist even if you wanted to. But I like your approach of just, a little fairy dusting to kind of get in the field and go, oh, okay, this is safe in here, because it can be quite jarring to your psyche. Myself, much like you, the first time I did Bufo, it was like, I think it was so immense that it kind of went over my head. I walked out of there kind of like, what just happened? I don't know. It's like, it wasn't that impactful because it was so huge. I couldn't even comprehend it. Whereas the second time I was like, oh, okay. My life will never be the same. I mean, just literally my entire existence was transformed by those first couple experiences. Yeah.
That's what most everybody says. Like, if they get a full dose, and the fairy dusting, I like that terminology.
You're free to take that.
That is so good.
You can put that in your brochure.
Yeah. I actually just made a little reel because we have not been really, we're not throwing out pictures and things like this, like from what is happening there. It's better not to put it too much out there. Like, also it's very private and for everybody that goes through this, but I managed to create a reel so that people get a little bit of an understanding of the atmosphere. And once I saw the finished reel, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like looking back, right? And years of retreats now. So I picked pictures from each of the retreats and the things that are happening. And then I also know what is with a lot of people. I know what's happening later in their lives and how their lives changed. And it's amazing. This medicine is something else.
What are some of the changes you've observed in yourself and clients that you're working with?
So I think for most of the people that really went all the way, of course, that is not always up to the facilitator, right? If you don't inhale enough, like you just said, then you can't force somebody to inhale more than they inhale. And some people have so much fear. That's why also the fairy dusting helps a lot, because the fear is soothed. And then they really will do what you ask them to do and inhale more when you ask them to inhale more. So that's how you can, determine how much medicine you can put a lot of medicine into the pipe, but then you cannot regulate how much somebody inhales and how much they hold. But they do much better after the fairy dust. And so the people that we really get to the other side, most of them have a harder time living compromised situations that really are so compromising that it is stipulating their growth or their own happiness. So we've seen marriages end, and that was also, that's sometimes painful, but it's also sometimes really beautiful, because there can be a new growth coming and things like that. And then we have seen jobs change, and that where people were endlessly long in the same wheel, and then they suddenly realized, oh my God, this is not at all what I want to do. And yeah, in general, more bravery to do right by yourself and become healthier, calmer, less dependent on what other people think, and having a sense of value really for themselves is I think the biggest driver behind it. So why is the medicine doing that? It's because you make an experience that you are a divine being, and that you're one with everything, and that you're not this individual lost little soul. And that changes you subconsciously. And of course, Bufo does release so much subconscious programming, right? So it's almost like a little bit of a reset of the subconscious mind. And since we have 6 parts of subconscious mind and 1 part of conscious mind, I always do this when I explain this to my healers. Like, look, this is not very balanced. It's like we have a lot of stuff going on that we have no influence on. None. Like, this is our conscious mind. This is the one we think with. This is the one we are aware of, the only one. And then that's a lot more subconscious programming. And the Bufo medicine does help to release the subconscious programming that we collect over lifetimes. It's not just this life that influences us in the subconscious mind. The causal body is constantly sending out information to our subconscious mind. And this information has often nothing to do with this moment of time. It is something from a different lifetime. And that's why past life work was so successful in the time of awakening in the last 50 years. Because we're resolving things in a time that still takes influence on the time now into our subconscious mind, and we don't know that this is happening because we are not aware of it. So until humanity reaches the ability to reach into the subconscious mind, which we will eventually, it's just a matter of evolution, then we will be able to control that kind of projecting, because the subconscious mind is projecting as much as the conscious mind. So if the subconscious mind believes it's worth nothing, because that is the experience that it made over lifetimes, like being a child was not exactly uplifting in the last, I don't know, 20,000 years. We don't learn how valuable and precious we are. We just don't, because nobody has a feeling for what that means. And so they don't know how to transport that into a child. And so early on, we learn that we are not worthy of so many things, and we need to control ourselves in order to be accepted, that we lose contact to the most important thing, and that is our own value and our own self, really. And that creates all of everything that comes after. And then we have a constant projection of the subconscious mind, I'm worth nothing. And then we might have a conscious mind that also believes it is worth nothing out of circumstance and projection and reflection. Everything that you project will be reflected. It does not have an opinion, that universe. That does not think, oh, Luke, you're so nice to everybody else. Let me just give you everything that you don't give yourself. It doesn't do it. It is a mirror, just a plain mirror. Stand in front of your mirror and see if the mirror ever gives you anything other than what you, or reflects to you anything other than what you project. And so when we have a subconscious mind that projects unworthiness, or like maybe even like self-sabotaging things, then we need to make sure that we have a conscious mind. But often even the conscious mind is right there in alignment with, oh my God, I'm so stupid. Oh my God, I'm so fat. Or oh my God, I'm so skinny. Or I'm not pretty as this person, or whatever. Like, so many, actually the biggest pain creators in our humanity are resistance and comparison. And we're so good at doing that because we're being conditioned to do that. It was part of the way how it was meant to be, on the way to that. We talked about it a little bit last time, that we crossed the threshold 13 years ago when the Mayan calendar ended, and a new world has begun. But now we're on the way back into unity, but on that way of path of separation, of course, we need it to be like this, because if we all remember we're divine beings, nobody experiences anything other than divinity. So there's eternal bliss, no need to go anywhere, no need to experience anything else. And in order to experience all creation, because in creation, every aspect strives to live and to be, we needed to forget all of these things and project all of those limitations. In a way, it's a limitation, right? Because we are always everything, even though we are not aware of it. And our subconscious mind is also not aware of it. So that's why the deprogramming of the subconscious mind is. And then we also have a lot of imprinting in the astral body, which is the next body from physical body. And so in my training, I have this healer training where I train basically healers that learn to be what they really are in essence, before they became any human or any other form. Like, what is their information field, basically? Why are you existing? And then how to bring this into life, and so on. Like, and make that your reality in this life. What does it want to look like in this life? So the first thing that they all learn is, how is the human system built? Because we have a wonderful system. It's magnificent. It's insanely magnificent. Like, every time when I look at it, I'm thinking that creation is genius to create something that is so perfect, because it is perfect. It has all the bodies, our auric bodies, our chakras, the physical body, everything in alignment. If we bring it into alignment, all of these things together, then there's just abundance, pure abundance in and out. And we have forgotten about all of these things because we needed to forget, because otherwise we wouldn't have experienced the pain and all of these wonderful things.
We need to forget in order to go on the path of remembering,
yes,
right? It's
yes.
like the cosmic joke. That's, there's so many things in there that I would like to tease out, but one of the things I think that my experiences with Bufo really helped me with is to be able to reconcile the value of existing in a duality, right? And,
yes.
When you experience that unity, even for a few seconds, and then as you start to reemerge in the psyche and persona and the ego and all those constructs, like try to find their way back into embodiment, it's so interesting to see how all of those aspects of ourselves are necessary in order to function in this place, in this realm. And also, I don't know, I found a lot of kind of forgiveness of God in its creation of this realm that can have so much abject suffering and what we would call evil, or just a lack of love on one end of the spectrum. I remember coming out of those experiences and just having so much, I don't know, appreciation and even compassion for the people that I perceived to be dark or evil. And it's like they're actually playing their role with such beauty and perfection. And if I didn't have that contrast to kind of push against, to go toward what I perceive to be the light, right, and my own, highest good and all of that, it's like I need to be able to experience that suffering in order to experience its opposite, or its perceived opposite. Such a gift in that. But beyond that, I want to go back to that experience of self-love and self-acceptance. It seems like so much of our cultural programming sets our self-worth up on a scaffolding of what you do or what you accomplish.
100%.
More so than just the very fact that your heart's beating and you're alive. It makes you lovable and perfect, but it's like we can get that conceptually, but it's so hard, I think, for many of us, myself included, to embody that. It's easy for me to love my wife in that way. I tell her that all the time. Gosh, I love you so much. Just because you're breathing, you were born. That's all you had to do to be loved as much as I love you. It's much harder to turn that reflection inward to myself and go, man, Luke, you're awesome. Not in a egotistical way, of course,
but see,
just
you
in a
already
self-love.
had to say that, like already try to be modest about it. Like we are so trained not to give ourselves that we are awesome.
I mean, also like, if you get too full of yourself on one hand either, right, you can become delusional. But to that point of the self-love and self-acceptance, I like how you said that, all of these changes that you're seeing in people's lives downstream from that, whether they, have a realization about their career, their life path, their marriage, it's like, it's not necessary to try to rearrange all the externals, but what we find, right, is that when that embodiment and that ownership of true self-love happens, then your tolerance for falsehood and bullshit gets really low, and you literally just can't stand to live in something that's toxic or dysfunctional or limiting, right?
Yeah, I think that I think that the tolerance for negative circumstances is not what is going so low. What really goes so high is that you feel like it's not the right thing anymore, and you have a lot of acceptance and love for what you had, because that's what you said also, that you had a lot of forgiveness with God in your experience, like this duality, like and appreciating the villains, because there no villain, no story. It is like this.
I like that. No villain, no story. That's good. That's good.
That's and it's about, and I want to say something to what you just said, that if we get too full of ourselves, that then we have that we get delusional. That is only possible if we don't integrate all parts of ourselves. Like if we can become super, super full of ourselves, and that's what I would wish for every single person that exists, or anything that exists, really, not just persons. But it has to be all of it. It has to be every single limitation. It has to be every dark spot, because every single one of us is as much light as we are darkness. It is not other way possible. Like the creation is in balance always, where it's supposed to go. Like if it is in balance, then it's just an imbalance maybe that we experience, but it's somewhere. It didn't fall out of creation. So if there is so much light and there's so much darkness, it is in duality, always at balance. So every one of us has every single thing in balance. Like we experience it in imbalance, but it is there. We just need to know how to get the machine oiled enough and integrate all of these parts that we might not like so much about ourselves, or think that is not beloved in society, or that we have so much conditioning on, like judgment on it because of conditioning. And that's why Bufo is so powerful also, because it will grow acceptance towards these parts in yourself that you try to hide, or you try, like if you become delusional, then there's only one reason why that is, and that is because you cannot accept your own limitations and the things that you don't love about yourself, like whatever that is. My third and last Bufo journey, I did 4 journeys, but there were 2 in the same retreat, and then there were 3 different occasions. And my third one, I went in, it was a very long journey. I had extremely much medicine, more than most people would be able. I was an hour in twice back to back.
Damn.
Gone. And I did this because I was, in my previous existence, I have very little experience as human. I was more holding space in an energy field, or whatever you want to call this. Like, think of a function in creation, and something had to hold space. Also, maybe if you're related to things in traditions or a religion, like the Holy Spirit that holds creation, like holds the sun, and then there's the creator, the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the Son, the Holy Trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Shiva is the space that holds. Shiva is the sun, and Brahma is the creator. Sun is the creation, and Shiva is the creation, and then the space Vishnu that holds creation. So there's of course a lot of beings that are within this holding space function. You think of it as a big stage crew, like everybody has to do something, and somebody has to hold the space. And of course there's many beings, and I'm one of these beings that has held space for creation until this time came. Now my time in form is only just beginning. Like this is my 5th life, and and it's a very, very short time that I had a few lives before, basically tryouts. And I don't know how I got there. So in order to hold the space, I had to almost disengage from my own darkness, because otherwise it pulls you back right into it. Because projection and reflection, it is a physical law. It is, no matter where you are in creation, it's always the same law. Projection and reflection is ones and zeros. It's really that simple. And I know that I will never be complete now in human existence, in this dual experience that I am experiencing now, if I don't integrate my darkness. So I did this Bufo with the purpose of integrating my darkness that I have not held for so long. And that was the most intense thing that I've ever done. I latched onto this thing and I did not let it go. And it's almost like it took me through all of the things that I have seen or I don't know if seeing is the right word, but that I knew what was happening in this space that I was holding. It's almost like in a fast forward motion, I experienced all of these things at the same time in 2 hours. And then giving birth to it. It felt like I was in labor when I came out of the first medicine, and I said, I need more medicine. I need to give birth to this. And then he gave me more medicine, and I got into another hour and gave birth to this. And then my life was never the same after that. It's just something inside of me became complete that was not complete before. And I have so little judgment on any bad things or any like misaligned things or horrible things or worldly things, because I have in me accepted and integrated in giving birth to all parts, even to the ones that are not pure. Because maybe this is a really good way to put it into pure. We are very good with our pure qualities, but we're not so good with the ones that are tainted, like and they're tainted because of misbeliefs and God knows which reasons, and the absence of love, really, in the end. But that was meant to be that way, and we need to accept that was not a wrong thing. It was not a mistake of God that He accidentally took the love away, because it was never away. I always say the biggest gift in creation was free will. That's the biggest love letter God ever wrote to His own, or the Creator ever wrote to His own creation, is that you get to do what you want to do. I mean, imagine that, having a child and you just say, do what you want to do. And then ask yourself, how do you feel about it? And you watch this child do what it wants to do. I've been through this. I talked about it in the last talk we had. It's hard. And so you see how much love there is in us having the choice, having a choice in general. Like the ability to choose and to judge is only connected to human, or like to form. Like does not exist in holding space realm when you are not incarnated. You are just in the absolute presence of acceptance. There's no judgment at all, and no ability to choose. It is what it is, and the presence of love. Because what is love? Nothing other than the total acceptance of what is. Not a warm and fuzzy feeling. It can be very warm and fuzzy, but in the end, it's just the total acceptance of what is, and then there's no space for judgment. And that's really so powerful when we integrate all our dark fields. Like, we often call darkness something negative, right? But darkness is nothing negative at all. It's like a knife. You can stab somebody, or you can spread Nutella and butter on your bread, which I think is an awesome thing. And so it's the same with darkness. Darkness is just very raw, pure power and the totality of light. And what you do with it, it's in the intent of every single individual thing. And when we lose the judgment to that, then we can become so full of ourselves, and we will never become delusional, because we are in so much love then. So we're full of love in the end, actually.
I'm going to share something super wild with you right now. Did you know that if you laid them all out, your blood vessels would stretch for 60,000 miles? It's crazy. That's a lot of distance to cover. Now, the problem is, just like any high traffic lanes, they wear down over time. Eating a crappy diet, daily stress, and lack of movement don't help matters either. So maintaining blood flow in all those arteries, veins, and capillaries as you age is crucial to keeping your brain sharp, your muscles strong, and even your skin looking vibrant. That's why I'm stoked about Calroy's new Vascular Health Bundle. Calroy's Arterisol HP and Vasconaut HP work together to rebuild what's breaking down in your circulatory system. Arterisol HP is the only supplement clinically shown to restore and protect the lining of your blood vessels, thanks to a rare seaweed extract with powerful cardiovascular benefits. And Vasconaut HP delivers sustained nitric oxide so your blood vessels stay open, flexible, and ready to move oxygen where it's needed. So for real, if you want better endurance, clearer thinking, and faster recovery, this solution is simple. You need better circulation. And here is a special bonus for the lifestylist community. You can pick up Calroy's Arterisol HP and Vasconaut bundle today, and not only will you save 25%, but you'll also get free shipping and a free bag of their microbiome gum, which actually supports your cardiovascular health while you chew it. So click on over to calroy.com/Luke to get your hands on this exclusive offer, because you can only be as healthy as your blood flows. So take care of it super easy. That's CALROY.com/Luke. befriending.com/Luke to get your free bonus and 25% off. On that idea of delusion and, going back to just appreciating yourself and feeling good about who you are in a healthy sense, it seems, well, in my life, in my experience, the times in which I did the most harm to myself and other people because I was so delusional or because I was ignorant of or suppressing or repressing, these parts of the egoic structure, right? It's just even at times when I was trying to be spiritual and going to India and doing all the things, I had no clue of kind of what was lurking in the shadows of my psyche and my being. And there was also some periods of frustration, just out of ignorance of trying to negate or get rid of ego, as if that's possible, right?
Thank God it's not.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't sit here and talk to each other.
I mean,
no ego, no conversation.
Yeah.
Like no you and me. Then we're just one.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in my experience, the ability to apply self-honesty and have some objectivity about yourself and your motives and what you're doing, and like going back to the subconscious, right? Of bringing the subconscious into the conscious seems to be all about actually accepting and integrating, what we would refer to as ego, right? This false sense of self. For me, it makes it much easier for me to manage my relationship to it when I've just surrendered to the fact that it's part of me, and it's actually a gift that can be used almost like, I don't know, I don't use my dog, but I think of like the ego as kind of like a pet, right? It's like it barks when it's supposed to bark, right? It wants to be fed when it needs to be fed, but it's about like the hierarchy of the relationship. If I'm unaware of it, then I start taking myself too seriously and I think I'm really important, and all these kind of things, right? And then easily insulted, easily offended, always feeling attacked, wanting to attack. It's like what we see in kind of the collective as a species is kind of this outgrowth of unconscious, unmitigated ego, whereas it's actually quite useful if we can build a relationship with it, I had a funny thing happen the other day. I was in a ceremony and it was such a great, just perspective on ego. For some reason, I started thinking about this book that I've been working on for freaking ever. And I'm getting close to finishing it. And it's a very personal book. Some of it is kind of memoir. And I mean, I'm just writing it as if like no one's ever going to read it. You know what I mean? And I got in my head and I started getting really afraid that like putting out this book with so much personal, and what would be embarrassing to the ego information, just stories about my life. I just had a really wild life and done a lot of things that I wouldn't say I'm ashamed of now because I've accepted them, but could be pretty embarrassing to the ego. So I started spinning out and I was like, wait, I can't put this out. I started having like a preemptive ego death, basically, of just like, oh, what are people going to think of me? And it's too inflammatory or too personal. And started having this imaginary sort of experience of myself being more important than I actually am. You know what I mean? Like it started to matter what people think of me, which matters less and less as I live my life and do the work that I do. I know I don't really care most of the time, but I started caring a lot in this experience, and to the point where I was like, wait, I need to rethink this. I think I'm making a big mistake here. And coming out of it, it was just like the resistance one would meet in Bufo, the same kind of thing. It was like, my soul is called to share some of my experiences in life and hopefully some of the wisdom I've derived from those experiences in order to be of service to humanity. Like that is the goal, right? But the ego was coming in going, no. This doesn't serve me, says the ego, right? It's like, I want to maintain this, level of purity, or I want people's respect and adoration. Yes. So if you, Luke, put this information out into the world, it's going to kill me, which is, it's trying to protect itself. So that might sound totally insane to someone listening that hasn't had those kind of experiences. But the point I'm trying to make is that because there was a me, the adult in the room, that was aware that this other sort of thought form, this other entity that's part of me was coming in and trying to scare me ultimately for my own good, because it doesn't know any better.
Yeah, of course.
That actually doing something that would be, that facilitates like a further depth of humility and a further, diminishment of the ego actually serves my soul in the end.
Yeah.
Even though to the ego, it could be very uncomfortable and embarrassing and all of those things, So I find in my life, the more acceptance I have of those parts of myself, the more I listen, kind of listen. Okay, thank you for sharing. Now I'm going to continue on my soul's path here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm grateful you're here looking out for us to make sure we look super cool and everyone loves us. But you don't really need to be in charge. I'm still going to move ahead, So these are the kind of things, the experiences that I have in life that I think are very, very helpful versus times when my entire existence and every decision I made was subconsciously based on those voices and those messages. And that was like my God before I had a relationship with, the authentic God.
Yeah. I like that word, authentic God.
Yeah.
I think that the next step is even more amazing, because then it becomes like an open, like then the ego will suddenly identify within that higher self, and there's no separation anymore, and there's no adult needed in the room anymore, because the more you uncondition yourself. And that's not only, I wanted to say that not only medicine does that, but this medicine does it in an extremely powerful way. There's actually no other medicine that I believe, so far I have not met any other medicine that can do such fast unconditioning as Bufo does. There's a lot of great medicine out there, and they all have their purpose and wonderful healing effects, but that subconscious deprogramming, and also astral body in de-imprinting, because a lot of this life, like with what we experience with our parents, happens in the astral body, and what we experience with other people in this life, from human to human, imprints in the astral body. And so that also the Bufo does cleanse that. The astral body, we should clean it like flossing teeth every single day, but we don't learn that. We don't even know that we have it. So I mean, most people don't.
By astral body, do you mean what some people call your auric field or your biofield?
It's part of your auric field. Like, so we have physical body, astral body, emotional body, causal body, and hypocausal body. And that is all our aura, and they have different purposes. So the astral body is the body that travels in dreaming. It's the one that we connect with with other human beings when we touch. That's where the imprinting happens from our parents. And so in the best case scenario from any human existence, the hypercausal body is basically our divine completeness. Like, this is the divine source code, and for you individually. And that should send the information of that source code to all layers of the auric body into your chakras, because your chakras are your manifestation centers. So no chakras, nothing. The chakras are everywhere in the whole creation, not just in humans. They're in every space. They're in every plant. The world has base chakras. Like, no matter, there's a gazillion layers of chakras. That's what we experience when we go into mushrooms. When we see these flowers and all of these geometric, like, we see a lot, these different layers of chakra existence, actually, like that often.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
I can't wait till there's some kind of
device
VR. Yeah. That you could just lay down and just have the mushroom visual space without necessarily like going on the whole journey.
I know.
Because, when you're in ayahuasca, any of it, right? It's like when you're in there, you're like, I wish I could remember this.
Yes.
Because the shit you see is
or you would like to show it even.
Yeah. I mean, like, you guys watch this film I just saw. It's like the shit you see is so freaking mind-blowing. It's hard for me at times not to get attached to that. When I'm in there, I'm like, oh, I want to take this with me.
Yeah.
I try to do breath work and like find other ways to get there. And it's like, nothing like, except like mushrooms specifically. They have a very unique frequency in the visual field, but I never thought about it that way.
Yes, so this is what you experience. So coming back, this is the chakras is our manifestation. They're like, if you think about the TVs, the old TVs, with the bulbs. Now we have the cable coming in from through the wall that we put the cable there, and then we put the cable to a TV, and all that goes through the cable is just information, right? There's no picture, there's no manifestation yet. It's just an information. And so the information comes in, and then there's a transformer or something like that bulb that turns that information into a picture. If I were to hold my hand against that cable, you wouldn't see a picture on my hand because my hand is not the appropriate transformer that we need in order to create something. And so think of your chakra like that transformer. So the information from here, in the best case scenario, comes through into your chakra, and the chakra transforms it into, every chakra has its own purpose and catches the information that it is responsible for to manifest, and then manifestation happens. So our body is the beautiful manifestation from source code through chakra. It's all energetic at this point, and then into physical form. And now when we think about the causa body, is the library of every single thing that we have ever experienced in any way, no matter which life and whether life or not life, everything that we have learned and unlearned and forgotten and remembered, and everything unhealed is also in this causa body. Every single experience is almost like a big library or a database of what we are. And then there's the emotional body that reacts to all of that shit that has nothing to do with now. And then we have the astral body that is full of imprinting because we don't know how to cleanse this. So we take all these things on so early on as little babies. We are not supposed to sleep at certain hours. We are not supposed to poop at certain hours. We are not supposed to eat at certain hours. We are not meant to have the need to be close. Like, I mean, the unconditioning of natural value is happening so early that nobody is aware of it anymore. And then we have all of that imprinting in our astral body that also is the emotional body between causa, so all the old stuff, new stuff. The emotional body is like a membrane. It constantly catches on it's like a speaker. So now we have all these emotions the whole time. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff between me and my source code. I mean, between my chakras and the source code. So now the physical body is catching on to all of that turmoil here. So that's why we need healing. So many people, they don't even know, why is healing even necessary? Why should I do medicine? Well, because imagine what it would be like if your source code gets through all of this turmoil, because that is all cleaned up and to your chakras, and they know if the chakras are working and running well, and they know what to do. What manifestation would happen? It's all so genius, and it's really simple. And there's a million modalities to go about cleansing this space. So all of these things influence our subconscious mind constantly, and that's why that's so important. So once this ego integrates in a very healthy and well-kept space, and then we can share everything that we have done. Like, one of the things that most of my clients tell me that they love the most about me is that I tell them all the mistakes that I made, all the really not so beautiful, and all the struggles that I have, and that I am also angry, and that I'm crying, and that I don't ever run around and pretend that I have no problems or have never had any. Oh my God, being a human is the hardest thing for me. I was born with this memory of all time, like, and every single thing that happened. Like, if I could rewrite history, nobody would like me anymore. Because we're learning so much stuff that has not happened that way. And I have all of this in my head. And it's so hard sometimes to be in a small version of all there is, like the way how I experienced this limitation of body in the beginning. Like, it took me a few lifetimes to understand, and even this life I struggled quite a bit with it. And I have come now to terms, but I always share my own struggle, and they love that I'm never pretending to be anything that inspires them more. Or like I had this mom as a client, and she was so hard on herself when she made a mistake. And then I told her the biggest mistake that I made with my kids, that I forever will regret that I did this. Like I just lost my mind, and for a few seconds, because I didn't sleep. I was in the middle of Lyme's disease, and I set them out at the side of the street and left.
Whoa.
I came right back.
Oh man.
They were screaming in the car, and my mom was there too. And she was also like, she and I got into something, and I just felt like, okay, I can't have any of you anymore. And I put them all on the side of the road and left in the middle of the night.
Whoa.
And of course, can you imagine the shock that they have had? Of course, it took me only 3 minutes to come back, but it doesn't matter. In those 3 minutes, they did not know whether I came back or not. And I shared that with her, and I share it now with the world. This is like, that made her so appreciative, and that made her able to accept that also she makes mistakes. And I said, my kids are okay. Like I know the mistakes I made. I know the hurt that I have created. I'm not pretending I didn't do that. I'm not trying them not to know about this, because they were very little, so they might never remember this, but I know I remember, and I talk to them about it, and we do what we can in order to heal the hurt that I have created. And so this is also part of accepting all parts of yourself, is accepting the mistakes that you made and understanding why you made them. It's not an excuse, to explain why you made a mistake. It's a valid events leading up to this event, and every one of us at some point is just a human, and then we snap and we do these things, and then we need to know this is what we did, and not, oh my God, I'm so awful, and let me never think about it again, which is what we often do with mistakes. And then, but being a leading example of accepting these things, I think is possible when we integrate the ego into the whole thing, when the healing of the programming happens.
What you described there to me is the fundamental difference between guilt and like a healthy sense of regret.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, there's so many things in my life about which I felt so shameful and so guilty for so long, because I was just so wallowing in self-loathing in all ways. Now there's things, as I was talking about, like embarrassing things that I didn't want to put in my book and things like that. And it's like, I don't feel guilt or shame about them, but I do have a healthy sense of regret. There's, just countless things, decisions I've made, things I've done in my life. It's like, oh God, man, if I could go back and do it again, I would do very different. But it is what it is. And there's a lot of trauma, programming, experiences earlier in life that are very easy to put on the blackboard now and go, oh, this plus this equals that. Hurt people. So it's like, it's not making excuses for behavior. And, I did it because I was, I had a rough childhood. It's like, well, that's true. But now that I know that, I can make different decisions, right?
Absolutely.
I find over time, there are less things that I do that I regret, and less things that I, am tempted to feel guilty or shameful about, because I'm just morally more refined. So I don't want to pay the price for, the
it's
instant
always
karma.
Just a matter of the price.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. But I like, your students reflecting that authenticity and vulnerability. I was looking at you don't call it a tweet anymore. I don't know what you call something that's on X, but there was a video of Jordan Peterson like arguing with these college students and things like that. And, he seems like a very smart guy, high intellect, but I was just observing him, and I thought, man, this guy is like, he's a crank, he just seems very unhappy in general. This is just my observation. And I thought, it's very difficult for me to take advice for someone who doesn't seem to have the results that I'm looking for, right? It's like when I talk to you, you're authentic, you have humility, you own your shit. But more than anything, you have a sense of joy and lightness, right? It's like, that's what I'm looking for in a teacher or someone from whom I would seek advice. It's like, does their life represent the net result that I'm looking for? And no matter how brilliant someone is or how much philosophy they know, for a case like Dr. Peterson, it's like, wow, I've, much respect for your intellect and the way that you're able to articulate ideas is beautiful. And there could be something to gain from that, but I'm only going to follow that to a point because you're way too serious. You know what I mean? It's just like, you don't seem happy.
Yes.
I would rather take advice from my plumber or something who's like got life figured out. I've met, I say this all the time, the most enlightened masters I've ever met are just regular people.
Yeah.
Some lady at the farmer's market who raises goats or whatever. And I look in her eyes and I'm just like, you figured it out. You found the thing. You found the access to joy. And it doesn't require having a website or a following or even knowing that you have it, right? Yeah. It's sort of like that, who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you say thing. Yeah. So it makes sense that your clients would feel safe to explore, growth and healing with you if you're not on a pedestal.
No, never. And none of us should be needing to be on a pedestal anyways, because we work best when we're face to face, and everybody feels way more courageous to go somewhere where it hurts or where it is uncomfortable when they are not alone in it. But if I'm above, then how can I be with you when you're going through the darkness that is within your own growth or whatever, or like in the recognition of yourself? But it's not always just like we see so many funny reels about what awakening really looks like.
God.
It's a whole theme. Like everybody thinks, oh my God, it's like this spiritual dance. It's not. And
I always tell people I do not advise the spiritual path. It's like, wow. I feel like I had no choice just because of where my
soul chose to.
My life led me.
You had a choice, but it was made up in
it was like
space.
Either die or grow. Yeah. Okay, well, 1% of me wants to grow more than it wants to die. But oh my God, the trials on the path. There are these plateaus of love and light. In between a lot of gnarly dark times.
I know.
Less dark times, and they're shorter in duration. They're not as dark as the dark times in the past, but yeah, I think that many people still live under the the illusion that committing yourself to a spiritual path is going to be just
all incense and
unicorns and rainbows. Holy shit, man! Have you found? We in our earlier conversation, which by the way, we'll put the show notes for today, including the link to episode 552, your former appearance. We're going to put those at lukestorey.com/cru2. That's CRU number 2. I recently signed up for this subscription service called Quantum Upgrade, and it's been a major game changer for my energy, EMF resilience, and the overall feeling in our home. Let me explain how it works. Quantum energy is the energy that supports all life in the universe. It's nonlinear, non-local, and has an immense potential for health when it's harnessed and directed to you or into your living environment. Through many years of research and development, Quantum Upgrade created one of the world's most potent sources of usable quantum energy. So when you sign up for their service, Quantum Upgrade associates your home, car, phone, business, and even your pet with this energy. The energy you receive with the Quantum Upgrade is a high consciousness field that you can even customize on the fly. For example, I like to set different booster levels at specific times, such as before a podcast recording or during sleep. It's pretty awesome. The Quantum Upgrade energy streaming service has already been studied and tested by independent institutes, doctors, and labs with phenomenal results in placebo-controlled double-blind studies. It's been shown to improve red and white blood cells and even reverse stages 1 and 2 of blood clotting in only a few minutes. You can try it right now risk-free with a 15-day free trial by visiting quantumupgrade.io. All you got to do is use the code Luke15 to activate your free trial. Again, you'll find it at quantumupgrade.io. So you described how ever since you were a little girl, you're tapping into these spiritual realms and having an understanding of your past lives and things like that, which probably sounds really nice to some people, but how how do you manage your sensitivities? I feel like as I've progressed on the path, especially in the past few years of working with plant medicines and psychedelics, I feel like I'm like sensitive to the point where it's almost a disability at times, just in airports, just certain situations. I'm just like, whoa, stimulation is so much sounds, people, noise, movement. I find it a little bit difficult. Is it worth it? Yeah, because I have an overall better quality of life, and I love myself and other people more, and I'm of better service, I think, to humanity than I was in the past and all that. But how do you kind of buffer yourself when you have to interact with the world?
So the reason why we need to buffer, like why we feel the need to buffer, is because we have not yet fully unconditioned or oiled the machine the way how once you have your machine in the way how it is intended to be, there is no need, because everything filters through this field of acceptance before it even hits you on a conscious level or on a physical level, because often we feel that stress of influence physically.
That's how I experience it. It's like a nervous system, bracing for.
Yeah.
I feel like I need a force field,
exactly.
of
And you do have that force field.
Keep like things at bay because my nervous system is so finely attuned.
Yeah. I think that is a matter of basically fine tuning the machine. That's why, like, I teach all the things that I teach in the training is only so that you have the ability to fine tune what you already got. Like it's there. So people often ask me, how do I get to this? How can I have better intuition? How can I have better clarity, or like better sight, or like clairvoyance and things like this? I said, your system knows how to do all of these things. All you need to do is uncondition, unblock what keeps you from being what you are, basically. So your system also does not really need buffering, because it is capable of working with whatever is. And this is just another level of maybe accepting everything as it is, and not even separate yourself from all of it, basically. Like I had the same thing as a child. It was really hard for me. I had a lot of acceptance, always like always was somebody that had very little judgment on the world surrounding me. I had confusion because the things that I realized and the things that I experienced were different things. Like I didn't understand why humans thought of themselves so little. When you see all parts of someone, you're like, okay, but yeah, I see your problems, but I also see all of that magnificence. How do you not see it? Like, and as a child, you don't understand that others don't see the world the way how you yourself see it. That comes later when you start having conversations and you realize that they don't see what you're seeing and things like that. So for a long time, I didn't want any of this. I wanted to be like everybody else. I did not want to feel when somebody disconnected from me, because I can feel it 10 miles against the. You can be in Timbuktu and disconnect from me, and I will feel it here, and it will feel to me like the worst thing ever, because this disconnecting into physical form, basically disconnecting from where I came from, that is a wound that I'm still healing, and basically that I'm trying to understand that there's no separation between these two things. That's the healing in the end. But
so when you say you would feel someone separate from you, is that like someone with whom you had an emotional bond, and for whatever reason their heart closed to you and they kind of just shut you
down,
out? Okay.
Or like it doesn't have to be a love relationship. It could also be a team, that's working on a project together, or like in school, like it could be like it didn't matter, or it could be with my parents, or it doesn't matter. Any kind of human relation, I can feel it 100 miles against the wind.
Like a disturbance in the field.
Immediately, I feel it when somebody drops their thread. Think of it like a thread that everybody's weaving. We're all weaving. We're weaving constantly. And then when somebody drops their thread, and I am very connected to that person, or very aware of that person, because it's in my immediate around, I feel that right away. And that feels like, to me, like you're ripping an arm away. So that is how it felt. It's still, now it's only with very, very close people, but in my childhood, it was all the time. And I felt so alone and so torn apart the whole time. And I didn't understand why they would do that.
I mean, I can imagine too. I've not been to Germany, but just, from the American perspective of the German culture.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were a kid growing up in Sedona or...
Yeah, that would have been very different.
Right? I just imagine like you being a little girl, whenever decade that was. I don't imagine that generally German culture is one that has a lot of, I don't know, people that you could relate with on that level and sense of community and whatnot.
Thank God I had a mom that knew how to do this often, like probably in an equal amount to not. And so that helped. And then there is always this greater understanding of, even I had as a child, that I am all one. So even though I was so alone, I felt so often so alone. I was also in the awareness that it does only feel like that I am all one. But then, of course, puberty comes and you want to be like everybody else, and you want to feel connection. You don't want to feel when your boyfriend disconnects. You don't want to feel when people don't know how to handle. Like, I knew every single response of every person that I was engaging with. I felt what they were feeling about me, what I made them feel about themselves, like, because of being like me. And no matter how much love I have within me, I will always trigger a response of growth and healing. This is just how it is. Like, you cannot take the frequency out of creation. It is within. I'm the embodiment of who I am, and no matter how I want, like how much I speak or whether I do healing work or not, it doesn't matter. Like, it's always there. And this was very hard. I hated it. I wanted to be like everybody else. And for a long time, I never resorted to drugs, even though they do this very well, that they numb you towards, or alcohol, or overly sex drive, or whatever. Like, these things, they never really, I think I just was too naive. I didn't know that these things exist.
You missed out, I'm telling you.
Like, I remember when I was 21, I came home, lived a little while somewhere else, and I came home and all my friends were like into rave and ecstasy and all of these things, and they were like, we have to tell you something. And I was like, what are you doing? I didn't even know that these things exist. And for a long time I was just watching, and then I tried everything out twice or three times and realized this is just chasing a thing that will never lead to what everybody believes it would. And so I don't have this addiction thing, because there's something so true in me that I see the falsehood in these illusions, So for a while I was going into extreme sports. I was climbing and skiing and avoiding a lot of crowds by being with the rock. The rock is very silent. And then I got pregnant with Lou. And that brought me back. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to have to learn how to be this person that I am, and bring this into the form that it wants to be for this life, and not basically put my feet on the ground. And like Lou was that gift for me, that he made me do this, because for him, really, I did this. And then it was for me in the end. And I learned how to become even more accepting, and how to oil the machine even better. And I started doing all sorts of trainings, so that I don't have to be so overwhelmed. And I have a switch today, and I have like an elephant skin. I always say now Or maybe I have so much acceptance in me now that I don't even mind. Like later when the kids got a bit older, like they could kill each other in the back and I wouldn't be bothered. Like I'm hardly bothered by anything today. I'm very fluid because the machine knows what to do when the influences come. And when I notice that I'm more influenced by whatever is coming towards me, then it's a fast adjustment that I can just become one with everything. So lifting basically the illusion of separation is helping a lot. And then, of course, we have beautiful quantum fields that help to navigate this awakening into all of these senses. And I remember that we watched in Costa Rica, we have this little home theater outside in our living room. And we were with the first group of Bufo participants. They were just family and friends, right? So this is how it started. We just did it with family and friends. And then it became, oh my God, this is so amazing. Let's just continue to do this for the wide open world. But we were kind of sitting in the evening and thought, oh, everybody's too pooped after Bufo, like maybe the third day after or so. And we wanted to watch a movie. We could all not tolerate it. It nearly killed us. Like a movie that's actually quite a funny and sweet movie that I've seen before. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
I couldn't deal with it. Like it was.
There's been times like in a ceremony where, I mean, I never like used my phone or something, but I've had to look at my phone for just something. It's like, oh my God. I mean, the idea of looking at social media or something, just like I could throw up. It's like I want no part of the kind of artificial reality when you're so immersed into a wider field of true reality. Yeah, that's good. I would not advise watching movies. Remember back when I was a teenager, I mean, I'd go to concerts and watch weird movies on acid and mushrooms and stuff. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. How did we do it?
I was putting
that's so counterintuitive.
Putting such shitty inputs into the field, you know? I would not advise that.
No, this is like a good example though. Like today also we recommend not drinking alcohol and not eating meat after Bufo because those are all low vibrating or lower your vibration, let's say it like that. And you're vibrating really high because of this oneness experience. Like your whole system, your machine is better oiled because you're cleaning up here. And of course that more source code into chakras humming, because that's what we're also doing. That's what we are also there for. And not just to give you the medicine, also to help your system to remember, hey, look, you have 3 lower chakras. You don't have to do it all up here. And it's wonderful, actually, if you integrate this and you allow this to happen. And we do a lot of work during the Bufo ceremony. We're not just letting people lay there. And this is maybe the gift that I have, that I can see the things that are happening with the person in their systems, what the medicine does and what they need in order to break through something. And so when you have all these things working suddenly, then you're vibrating beautifully. It's like a little well-oiled machine. It hums and vibrates high. And so then you drink and that's like such a downer so fast. Same with alcohol, same with meat and movies and things like that.
Don't go watch a gory horror movie.
No. Plant medicine. I don't watch that at all. I think.
Either. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. Just God, the way things get, imprinted. But I had one of my dad's sisters, my aunts, who's super cool. My Aunt Carla. I mean, I loved her. She loved me when I was a kid, and she ended up introducing me to a lot of Eastern spirituality and things like that later in life. But when I was a little kid, she was like the cool aunt. And one of the things she would do is she would take me to R-rated movies, which is super cool. Like, that my parents would not let me see. And the movies she would take me to were like Friday the 13th and like these horror movies sometimes, And when that started happening, I started having just horrible nightmares and became afraid of the dark. And even to this day, there are certain, situations in which I'll be afraid like if I'm out in the woods in a house, for example, no one around, I feel more scared there than I do in a dangerous ghetto in a city.
Yeah.
Because of those imprints of like, there's a serial killer with an axe who's like hiding in the woods, watching us through the window. Like the reality of it is you're so much safer in that situation, but still, and I was thinking about, God, I mean, no regrets, no blame or anything, but it's just interesting to look back on how some of those sort of thought forms were put into my psyche just from being young and impressionable. I'm there in a hypnotic theta state at 7 years old or whatever, watching these freaking movies, and that darkness like made a semi-permanent imprint. Yeah. So probably good advice to avoid toxic, negative energy, despite how resilient one might be. I mean, right? Because I'm thinking about, okay, it had that impact when I was young and impressionable. And now I think that my conscious mind can discern between what's a movie and what's reality, but I don't think you really can. I think the subconscious still picks up on that imprint.
And the astral body.
Check this out. With everything that's going on with our food, air, and water, detoxing is no longer optional. And if you really want vitality, it's an absolute must. One of the best ways to remove toxins from the body is through sweating. But did you know that not all sweat is created equal? When you hop into an infrared sauna, the light is absorbed deeply by the body, causing your cells to vibrate. And that raises core temperature and enhances natural metabolic processes, pulling out nasty toxins like aluminum, cadmium, and even mercury. The sauna I use on the reg is my Amplify full spectrum sauna from Sunlighten. Sunlighten's patented and science-backed technology provides the most effective, high-quality, near, mid, and far infrared available. They actually have 4 different sauna collections, each of which features different combinations of light and varying aesthetics to fit both your needs and your decor. And with any Sunlighten sauna, you can rest assured that you're going to sweat fast, sweat deep, and support your detox. And by the way, you can learn what makes Sunlighten my top pick on the Lifestylist podcast, episode 477, so make sure to check that out if you want the deep dive. And then when you're ready to treat yourself to the world's best infrared sauna, visit get.sunlighten.com/LukeStorey and use the code LukeStorey to save up to $600. You can also find that link in the show notes on your podcast app. And obviously, it would make 0 sense to detox while exposing yourself to high levels of EMF. And that's why Sunlighten designed their heating panels to produce almost none, so you can relax and detox safely. Again, that link is get.sunlighten.com/LukeStorey, and the code is LukeStorey. Oh, I know what I want to ask you about the astral body. You were talking earlier about how the astral body is the interface between other physical bodies and people. And I've heard different teachers over the years talk about how important discernment is when it comes to physical intimacy, sexual intimacy and whatnot, right? And that if you have a lot of partners and you're not really discriminating on who you're interacting with, that you can pick up on people's energy and karma and things like that and sort of get imprinted with them, whether or not you're trying to or not, kind of like with watching a horror movie. What's your, and I'm not speaking from a moral perspective, it's just purely energetics. What's your perspective on that, mixing energy with people that you might not really want to be permanently or, tied to energetically in the long term?
That's why it would be good if we do things that cleanse our astral body, because we don't have to hold on to this. Like, we just don't know how to cleanse it. And that's why we are holding on to it. It's basically a cage that we don't empty. And if we learn how to empty it with breath work, empties the astral body, energetic expansion, heart energy. Basically, if you do, there's amazing breathing techniques that trigger a lot of green light release from the heart, which you then can expand into your astral body, which cleanses your astral body. Or you can use your solar plexus light that has very cleansing effects, and expand it into your astral body. There's other techniques, lots of, like, medicine is a good cleanser. It's a good cleanser for like once, or if you do microdosing, which is like amazing thing to help release these things. That's the beautiful thing about mushrooms, that they connect everything the way how it is meant to be, connects neurons. And if we have connected neurons, then the neurons know what to do with the rest of the system and will influence the cage to empty by itself, because it's not meant to hold. It's meant to make a connection. And that's wonderful, because we can get really, really close because of that part of ourselves. Otherwise, we would not be able to experience that deep connection. And so there's reasons why we have this astral body being so imprintable, because that gives us the ability to be really, really close, which is, to me, the most beautiful thing about existence, is to be close. Like, that's my drug. And the problem is just that we're holding everything. We're holding on to everything. It's the same with why we are so in a place of deficit and lack, and a mindset of lack, we humans, is because we are holding on to everything and don't allow the life cycle to flow. And a life cycle entails letting go. It entails to allow your fruit to fall, allow your leaves to fall onto your ground, allow them to rot into nutrients for your roots to. It is necessary to draw in and to have all your attention in the ground and not be in the crown. Winter, who does that? Who is relaxing into the winter in hibernation? Like, we all live within this life cycle. This is the life cycle of this creation. And we don't allow that anymore. Like, we need to be in summer and spring the whole time. It needs to be one big party, and then it needs to be one spring cleaning after the other. And it's just so much productivity, and nobody does the reflecting part, the fall and the winter anymore. But how long is that supposed to last? That's why we have so much burnout, because people don't understand how to be abundant within this life cycle that is a physical law in this creation. And when we allow to let go also from this imprinting and the connections that we made, then that is always a clean body. It's like brushing teeth. When flossing, we do it every day. And so should we do things that, until our system understands not to take on, and it naturally does it. So my general answer really is also funny, because my trainees, of course, they have all these questions, and my general answer to them is, when they ask me these things, is uncondition yourself. Like, whatever that means. They learn a lot of techniques, how to uncondition the subconscious mind and the astral body, and to calm the emotional body. And so we have so many modalities, so many wonderful tools out there that can all do this job, not just medicine. But microdosing is also beautiful, like mushroom microdosing.
I took some this morning. I always have a good day when I microdose. And I know, because it's not placebo, because I forget. Like, I would have never thought of it today. Yeah. It's just this morning I thought, feels like a good day for that. Had you not mentioned it, I would have forgotten that it was. And I would have just had a good day and not attributed, part of it, at least in some degree, to that. But I can't imagine, honestly, how anyone could not microdose. Like, how do you even exist in the world without the fungi assistants,
I have one.
Or little allies, they're such cool little creatures, Just so fascinating.
I mean, they are showing us they are the transformers again, from death into life. And that is from a neural connection that was dead to resurrected into an alive neural connection. And that's not the only thing they do. It doesn't matter which mushroom, the psychedelics or the others. They're all doing the same thing. It's all connecting everything.
I mean, what's so trippy about all mushrooms, and I know I see them out in our yard sometimes. I'm out in the yard every single day. I mean, I love tending to my plants, and it's like my little patch of a half acre of wilderness that I get here. But what's crazy is I'll be outside one day, I go outside the next day, and there's like mushrooms all over. They just like manifest out of thin air. I feel like you could sit there for a few hours and just watch them actually manifest out of the unmanifest, right? It's like such a great example of that source code that you mentioned that exists in the universe, that source code meets the source code of the soil in certain conditions of humidity, and all of a sudden something that did not exist a few hours ago now exists.
And it has existed all along. It just came into manifestation of presence, like a form. So, but the mushroom was there all along the whole time. It was just not visible. It's just in a different form, like in this web. The mushrooms are really the interconnectors in creation.
The cosmic internet.
Yeah, between the spirit and the matter. So this is really like a beautiful, beautiful medicine. Doesn't matter like psychedelic or not, but microdosing psychedelic mushrooms is so extremely powerful for women that are pregnant, because the birth will be a completely different birth that they will have. And I have a very, very close friend who had struggled a bit through her pregnancy, and then she started a month prior to her birth microdosing, very, very low. It's an amount that is not, you don't really feel it as an experience. And then she went into a wonderful labor and a lot of healing beforehand was triggered. And then this baby is now, she's 1.25 years old now, and I've watched her the whole time. Like, this is the most content, most awakened baby that you can imagine. Like, she's so abundant in so many ways, and she's so, there's these babies that are just content, but they are also a little bit not present. Like, they are just content in a almost sleepy way, and so they're very, like, everybody wants these very uncomplicated babies, right? But this one, she's so present, and you can see it because she gets it through the mother milk as well, right? So she doesn't even have that loss of neuroconnection that so many babies experience. And so you see this mushroom baby thriving and being like amazing little self, and going through her growing up in a completely different way because of that microdose, because mommy microdoses and she gets it from the milk. So it's a girl. Then there's so much space. You have so much energy left to develop into all parts of yourself and the way how you were supposed to develop, and not then, when we have all this stuff going on as a baby that stresses us so much, it takes so much energy away. She has none of that. She's got all this energy. So if any women listen, like that is like coming in Europe now really, really big, that a lot of women awaken to the fact that that is a wonderful medicine during pregnancy. And the first time is also hard. I mean, you don't sleep often because the babies don't sleep, and all that gets better.
Wow.
You are much more soft as a mother.
That makes perfect sense to me. There was a time with Cookie there, who, for those watching the video, could see Cookie's having a great time on Cru's lap, which I love. I love when she sits with the guest and they also enjoy it. When I first adopted her years ago, she had, like kind of aggression with other dogs, right? I think she just maybe was traumatized by a big dog or something. Yeah. But it was, it was kind of problematic when I would walk her and stuff like that. So a peyote facilitator that I sat with at some point explained to me that she had microdosed her cat with peyote because it was all skittish and traumatized and stuff. And over the course of a few months, it totally rewired it and healed it. So for a while, I was giving Cookie a little peyote.
That's amazing.
And then I ran out of the peyote and then got her on mushrooms, on microdose of mushrooms, and it freaking cured her.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. Like I didn't do anything else.
Yes, we're talking about you.
Yeah. And, that might sound nuts to some people, but, obviously it was like tiny, tiny amount. That it wasn't like Cookie was walking around tripping balls or anything, but it did.
I wonder sometimes what it is for an animal. It
did something, it's rewired something in her nervous system and subconscious. Someone, who was I listening to? I think it was David Hawkins a couple days ago, was talking about how animals like your dogs and cats at home, they can't differentiate between their dream space and real space. That is exactly the same to them. One's not more real than the other. What do you think about that?
Well, it like animals are in the constant presence of everything that is. Like they have so much acceptance. They actually teach us quite well what it really looks like. We have this joke in Germany. If you want to know who loves you more, your dog or your wife, lock them both in the trunk for 1.5 hours and then see who likes you coming back.
Fair.
You still like or how they respond to you when you come back and let them out. Like your dog will be so excited to see you.
Right.
It will not even question, why did you do this to me? Like it will maybe not feel completely comfortable, but settle into this situation and then be just excited when you come back. But your wife most likely won't feel the same way about it because she has a different way of being present, like not the same as animals do. Like animals are in constant presence of acceptance about what is. And so dream state, wake state, all of these things they don't mind. And that leads me actually to something I wanted to say about these toxic things. Like when we live the illusion of separation, and we understand that we are all these things, all of the horrible things, all of the good things, all of the annoying things, all of the disturbing things, all of the joy-bringing things. Like if we're understanding that we are all, then there's zero resistance between anything. And then we're just flowing. And then there's no disturbance at all. There's no imprinting. Today I can drink alcohol right after Bufo. It won't change anything in my vibration. Because I don't do that, but I have tried it just to see. And I have never been able to tolerate alcohol my whole life. It had terrible effects on me, so I was never drinking. Now I can drink, I can enjoy wine, I can do all of these things that normally people that have gone so far, they always say, no, we don't need any of that. Like if you go a bit further, and you lift all of the separation between anything, then everything is you and you are everything. And then how can it lower my vibration? There's a few things still that affect me, but then I also know what to do and how to get myself back into a state of flowing when I run against it. And it usually has to do with resistance or, mostly resistance. It's very innate to us humans to resist. And animals
Isn't it crazy
don't
though
have
that we were chatting about this a bit earlier? It's like literally any form of suffering that we experience is directly proportionate to our level of resistance.
Absolutely.
Like that's literally the thing that causes pain.
Absolutely.
So why do we keep resisting? You know,
as a young girl, one of our classmates got raped on the way home, and that I have a lot of memory of rape in one of my lifetimes, and I had also experienced not so beautiful things in this lifetime as a child, or not so beautiful like things in that manner. And so this made me think about it consciously when that happened, because my own experiences were in a young age from 4 to 9, like where you not really consciously think about these things. So later on in my teenage years, I was thinking about this more, and I so often thought about what is the appropriate response if you get raped. And what I came to as a teenager, I thought the best response is to surrender to it and to let it happen. And then it will not hurt as much, and it would not do what it could be doing to you. I mean, I know that this is like huge, like to even get to that point of not, but I realized then and there that the way how we resist to what happens to us is what creates the pain. And it's horrific that is happening to any woman. It doesn't matter, or any boy or any man. It doesn't matter, any animal. But if we don't resist, we have power over the situation, what it does to us. And I know that's a path, and that's not something that just comes to mind when that is happening. And but it is really the key to all experience of pain, and also to not judge the pain when it's happening, like to think it has to be a different way. That also creates a lot more pain than it already initially is. If you just accept it, if you're heartbroken over something and you just feel like you're breaking, and then you feel like, oh, I shouldn't be like this, or I should not break, or I should be a different response, or I should be more whole, or whatever, it will become more. But if you just allow that and accept it as it is, and I said that in the last time, find joy in even the worst things, maybe that's then another step. But if you can only just get to the acceptance of what it is, the pain will diminish. It will be less pain. And this is the same thing with these situations. The more that we resist to someone that is violating to us, the more we see this in bar fights, like that one guy starts to try to pick a fight with another one, and if the other one resists and gets into that fight with that person, then we see a lot more pain happening than if one would just let that wash over and say, oh, all right, buddy, how can I help? Or
I mean, if you have interactions with law enforcement, that's a great example of that. If you're in fear, resistance, resentment, you can make things much more difficult for yourself than if you just make it matter of fact and don't personalize it. And I think as radical as that, you're giving a very extreme example, right? In the case of sexual assault, but I'm sure many of us, I know I have heard stories wherein someone was experiencing, violence, being robbed, having their house robbed, being robbed at gunpoint, something like that, right? Some sort of violation and assault. And in those situations, the person has somehow summoned the capacity for just unconditional love of the assailant and offered no resistance, but just compassion. Say someone breaks in your house, hey, how can I help you? What's going on with you? Are you having a hard time? Let's go open the safe. I'll help you out. I'm just
I understand.
Using a blanket metaphoric example here in a way, but I've heard true stories, true anecdotes of people that have transformed the aggressor in a moment just by expressing unconditional love and by not resisting, finding the humanity in the assailant, and all of a sudden the assailant almost comes out of a hypnosis, and they're like, wait, what am I doing? I don't need to hurt this person, that kind of thing, right? Just the amazing, I guess the transformational energy of love, which is inclusive of non-resistance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, resist we only do when we object. And when we don't accept, basically it's a judgment, right? So we have a judgment. This is not the way how we want it. This is not what it should be like. Conditioning. And then I always say to my trainees, the presence of judgment is the absence of acceptance, and the absence of acceptance is the absence of love. And so therefore, the absence of judgment is the presence of acceptance, and that is the presence of love, like omnipresent. Every single day, if you don't judge, and that's a path, of course, like a path of unconditioning, because our systems are meant to be in total acceptance of every single thing. That's how the machine is built. It is source code manifestation. Source code manifestation. That's a projection of completeness, and that's a reflection of completeness. This is how we can fix the whole world. Everybody just learns their system and how to manage it.
You might know that the brain operates in 5 distinct frequencies: gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. And each brainwave has its time and place in the cycle of your day. But sometimes you're not in the state you need to be for the tasks ahead. Now, one of the OG biohacks to transcend this mismatch was called brainwave entrainment. And devices that use this technology have been around for a long time, and I've probably tried them all at this point. The problem is that most of them didn't really work, at least not for long. But there's one way I've found to change my brainwave state immediately and consistently. It's called New Calm. NewCom's a unique experience that targets 6 specific brain states, and it's backed by tons of neuroscience. I mean, legit neuroscience. I've been using NewCom very consistently for the past 5 years anytime I want to drop into a particular brain state quickly. For example, like when I start feeling the onset of afternoon fatigue, I just punch up the power nap settings on my phone, throw on some headphones, and NewCom gently slows my brain down to alpha and theta waves. And after just 20 minutes, I wake up feeling refreshed and ready to smash the rest of my day. It's no joke, really works. So visit newcom.com and sign up for their 7-day free trial. When you're ready to join, use code Luke to get 15% off any subscription. That's NewCom, NUCALM.com. We talked about the astral body and methods by which you can cleanse that and keep yourself from picking up other people's stuff and other people's energy or creating, lasting unintentional bonds with people and so on. What about more extreme cases of that where it's getting in the realm of entities, which is something I, years ago, I would have been like, entities, whatever. But I've had some experiences that, open portals into other dimensions where I'm like, oh, there's definitely some creepy crawlies that we can't necessarily see with our, in our normal waking state. And I've known a number of people for whom they felt like, wow, there was something attached to them in an energetic sense, which is much more problematic than just, oh, my field is a little bit dirty or, and there's a bit of entanglement with another person's field, for example. Do you have any experience with or perspective on that next level of, attachment?
So nothing that you don't project can be reflected to you. Think about the mirror again. Like if you stand in front of the mirror and you project a black outfit, you will not see yourself in a white outfit. Or if you project yourself, you have a crown on top of your head, you will see a crown. You will not see the sorcerer's head or whatever. Like you will see a crown. So what you project is what you reflect. So whatever exists within you has to be part of your projection. So entities that we experience imprinting or influencing our reality are usually aspects of ourselves that we project, but that are living in the shadow. Again, that comes back to integrating the, hey, Cookie, hi. That comes back to integrating the all parts, all of these, so that we don't have lurking things in the shadow in our own system that then manifest into, because in the end, if you remember in Bufo, I don't know, of course, everything that you experienced, but you cannot experience oneness if you're not everything there is. And so if you are every single thing that there is, I know that it's so hard for our mind to understand that you and I don't exist. Like you exist from your perspective, you're the only thing that exists. And from my perspective, I'm the only thing that exists. In my perspective, from my perspective, me being the only thing that exists, you and everybody else, Cookie, every single thing that exists here is just a reflection of one of my projections. And the same, so from your perspective. And so when we take this principle into entities, then whatever has occupied me, like I don't know a better way to say it in English, then it must be me because I am everything there is. And so when we learn to look for these things that lurk somewhere, that we have even a projection of that subconsciously, of course, for most of us, very open people often attract, and we think, oh my God, there's a lovely people, like they're constantly haunted by all of these entities. And it's because these lovely people often put their shadow aspects very deep into away from themselves. And then these shadow aspects that maybe need a lot of integrating don't get integrating, and they're just doing whatever they want and manifest into these entities. And like I said, I was a being that was most of the time in existence of just in space, like information field that did what it was intended to do. There was no individual persona attached or identified with it. It was just what it was. And so are there out there a lot of frequencies that maybe become, because of their experience and their part in creation, have had functions that were not just rainbow and roses and have other intents. And so we manifest those and attach to those things like that are also us, because how can they not? If you are everything, and that is what we experience in Bufo, right? That we understand we are everything there is. Then we have all the cards in our hand, all the reins in our hand. That makes us extremely powerful. It gives us a sense of self-worth that we didn't have before. But it also maybe opens us up to all these parts that we haven't integrated or have pushed away. And then that's a little bit of a work to integrate this and to lose the judgment over these things. So I know I'm very unorthodox in this sense, because I often hear all these people, aliens and all of that kind of stuff, that all this talk, it's my favorite topic. There is only life itself. And in whichever way it manifests for you, if you channel it or whatever, it happens to you,
Abduction.
Yeah. Abducts you.
Abducts you. Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's always you, your aspects. There's never anything foreign, because how can there be anything foreign if you are everything there is? And everything there is means everything there is. So there cannot ever be anything foreign. And when we understand how powerful we really are in creating our experience by accepting all parts, or shadow and all of this stuff, then we will not even have those experiences, because we don't need them then. They are created by subconscious suppression and conditioning and judgment, and then they manifest into these entities and into parasites. Like parasite is a beautiful example that we have physically then, that these energetic imprints manifest into parasitic overgrowth and disease.
So it's kind of like, going further on the parasite analogy, parasites can only exist if the host has a terrain that's hospitable to their existence, right? Yeah. So on the energetic realm, what I'm getting from you is that the terrain of our field is less or more susceptible to, say, an entity based on resonance, right? Because there has to be kind of say in your GI tract, if you're picking up parasites, there's a biochemical, but also an energetic resonance that makes that home attractive to a parasite. And so with entities, if there are, unhealed or unconscious aspects of ourself, there's a resonance for those entities that feel like it's outside of ourself coming from somewhere else, right?
Yes.
Is that the basic idea?
Perfect.
Okay, that's
everything is about resonance. Every single thing. I have a person in my life that teaches me not to be resonant to anything more than anything has ever done so. And it's like, I see that really the master path is in the end to be without resonance. That's when you fully have come home to yourself. And that's when you have integrated every single part of yourself, then you have no resonance. Because how can I have resonance to something that's not within me? Nothing can resonate with me. You can walk through a minefield. If you have no conflict within you or no destruction within you, so you will not hit any of these mines. You will not be shot by any bullet that flies through the air, because you don't have that. It cannot be. You most likely won't even end up on that field, because how can it?
Totally. That reminds me, my younger brother, Cody, half brother, who's the younger of the two of them, who's one of my best friends. Earlier in life, he was very angry. He expressed his pain through violence and was very aggressive, whereas me and my other brother are very passive, super chill, but had our own ways of coping that were also destructive. But anyway, to your point, my brother Cody when he's a teenager and I guess through his early 20s, he would get in fights constantly. People would pick fights with him. Some big guy, just like literally just out of nowhere start shit with him, and he'd end up in a fight. And I always thought that was so interesting. No one ever picks fight with me my whole life,
Yeah.
But it's like he was transmitting that resonance, right, of violence and aggression and those things within himself, that internalized rage that had nowhere else to go. It was like a beacon for other men who had that same internalized rage. And both of them there was this attractor field that would just magically bring them together.
Yes.
I remember once we were on a cruise ship where everyone's supposed to be chilling, having fun, drinking, gambling, going to the beach. He got in a freaking fight on the cruise ship. Some guy just came up and like attacked him literally out of nowhere. And so he beat the guy's ass, gets taken by the ship police or whatever down to the galleys or what, almost they can't kick him off the ship, but they have like a little ship jail, And I remember thinking like, we're in the middle of the Caribbean. How could you possibly like get in a fight with someone? I didn't start it. And there was video footage that showed like the guy literally came out of nowhere. Yeah. And got in his face and attacked him. But I think it's because of the energy that he was transmitting, right? It's like a beacon for, like begets like kind of thing.
Projection equals reflection.
So interesting.
And it never is immediate, like sometimes it could be that for a lifetime, when we project, for instance, self-neglect, all of a sudden we have cancer. Like so many people that we know that we say, maybe right now it's a little bit different because we had trigger points that created a lot of cancer.
Yeah.
But before, cancer often hit people that we thought like, oh my God, they have been there for everybody all their life. They have been such good people. It is so unfair that it hit them. Like they were such wonderful humans that took care so much about their surroundings, like their family, their workers. It doesn't matter. And it's because cancer often is your own energy that goes against yourself, and you become aggressive towards yourself, because if you don't use your energy for yourself, what do you project? Self-neglect. And what can be the reflection of that? In the end, self-neglect leads to destruction. So you can self-neglect for a long time before it leads to destruction. And that can happen that maybe your soul just says, hey, you're really following a path that I don't agree with. Let's reset. And then cancer's we always call it the kiss of karma, or the kiss of your soul to bring you into a reset. So I know that's very, maybe a little bit romanticizing this. That's not what I'm meaning to do, but just to understand that we do have it in our hands if we understand ourselves as whole beings that project from a lot of levels, not just the conscious. It's hard here with this. Like 6 pieces project constantly with. They're in front of the mirror. And this one piece here is what we are aware of. So we can think, oh my God, I'm so beautiful all day long with this. And 6 times we think with these 6 parts, they're not separated really from one another. There's just one bunch of subconsciousness that projects. We are completely not worth our own care. And that can result in self-destruction, and that is cancer. And general disease is always something where our soul is trying to talk to us when we didn't listen while it was still talking from here, from source code. So that's why like parasites are resonance fields that manifest, because we have chakras and they manifest stuff. The information that comes in, that we're putting in, is what manifests. And if we understand how powerful that is, then we can manifest anything that is true to us. And that's why it's so important also to know who you are and what is true about you, and not go by conditioning and what you do. Because every one of us is already everything that they need to be, just that we don't know it. And so we project a whole lot of stuff that isn't really working for us. And not also this praying. I say this often, praying and meditating and projecting all of this wealth and health and all of this is very popular right now. What if you're not meant to be? I mean, every one of us is meant to be abundant, because that's what that's our birthright. That is the base of existence, is abundance. But maybe we're not meant to be having a jet or like a Maybach or whatever.
I hope it's in my karma to
have a jet.
Yeah. Or at least to be able to fly on them.
Yes.
Avoid commercial air travel.
I hear you.
But that brings up something I want to talk about actually, and that is something that's become very popular and I think largely positive is this idea of manifestation and abundance and trying to make vision boards and reprogram your subconscious mind and all of these things. But when you bring up like the 6 parts of unconscious to 1 part of conscious mind, it seems like that is going to be very difficult for most of us to overcome, because you can sit there and look in the mirror every day and go, I love you, you're doing great, you deserve to be wealthy, or whatever your goals are. You have like these 6 parts of your unconscious mind that are like, you're stupid, you're worthless, you don't deserve it, whatever that programming is, right? So it seems like there's probably a lot of people that are, I don't know if you're familiar with this phrase, it's an American one, but whistling in the dark. It's like a little kid who's super scared and he's just pretending like he's okay, but he's really terrified because he's just sitting there whistling. It seems like a lot of the manifestation type things I see out there are ignorant of the fact that
there's a subconscious mind.
Yeah, that the conscious mind, it doesn't matter like how many affirmations you do, right? Yes. That it's like there's programming that's way back in the recesses of the subconscious that need to be accessed in order to actually bring that abundance that you seek to fruition. So what would be your perspective or methods of bringing into the world of form things that are still floating in the world of pre-form?
Yeah. So that again is a beautiful example where my answer would be, you need to uncondition your subconscious mind and whatever you are brave enough to do, do medicine, do the breath work, do yoga, do the things that not the yoga because I want to have a steel body or something like that kind of yoga, like the yoga how it was intended to be, and even that leads to some of that unconditioning. Do the work with someone that is a healer that helps you to identify what is not true to you, what is in your subconscious mind that is false information. There's a million things that you can do. Really, the answer is always to uncondition yourself. And I'm not a big fan of all of this manifesting only these wonderful things. I don't mean to use the mind to say, I can manifest this and manifest. The mind is also just a small part of a really magnificent system. And the mind should be used to uncondition the subconscious mind. Like, be smart, like choose discomfort of growth against your comfort of sitting on the sofa and accepting the dire situations, and or maybe the discomfort of courage, which is sometimes very uncomfortable. So we use the mind for that, not create a vision board, because I'm telling you, one of the worst things in my life were the best teachers of my life. I had Lyme's disease for 13 years, not just for a few weeks, and then it got detected, and then we took care of it with antibiotics. Like, I was sick like a dog for so long because I resisted also a lot to the acceptance of that is my reality, because I thought this happens just to other people. And I have power over my existence, but I was always living more in a spiritual space than in the physical space. And that is not the intention of living as a human. The living as a human is my manifestation. So I have to become fully aware of this and understand how this works and what this needs, and become free within it and not away from it. Because again, that's separation, not unification. I'm a being that exists to unify and not to separate. And so, of course, that didn't work for me. And this Lyme's disease was the greatest gift that I could have. I mean, do you think people put Lyme's disease on their vision board? They don't. But maybe that exactly is what you need in order to do a huge quantum leap in your existence and become powerful and empowered in your current situation. Often it's the bad things that or the bad things, like the things that are uncomfortable or painful. I mean, that was a very painful path for me and my kids and Philip. And without Philip, I don't know if I had even made it to the point where like now I'm completely whole again and I can carry you up a mountain if I have to. I'm so strong now physically. And when I have something with my body, then I know exactly what was going on. I was again drifting too far away from this, like, so unify with it, then understand it. So I can do this much better when I use my mind, not to dream my castle and the Maybach and the. I mean, of course, we can always dream about a jet. We both travel a lot, and we both have this idea that it would be so wonderful. But in the end, it's really, we should use our mind to become accepting of whatever is what we need right now, and not say it should look like this, it should look like that. I want this, I want that, because the magic is often outside of the mind. The mind is such a small thing. So is the subconscious mind. We are so much more, and the unconditioning and well-oiling of our system, that brings forth the different projection. And then we have the reflection of that. Because in the end, if I say, I wish for the boat, I wish for the castle, I wish for the perfect man, what do we say? What do we project?
That we don't have it.
Exactly. And that's a projection of lack. And so what do we get from that? Surely no abundance. So all this asking and praying and vision boarding and all of that stuff is. And then I know, of course, there's a lot of trainers out there that teach you need to say, I have it already, like when you project it. But then again, please include Lyme's disease or cancer or whatever. Like, I have a friend, she's one of my closest people in my life. She's Lou's other mommy, and she had cancer. And I think the cancer was one of the best things that happened to her in this life, because it brought forth something that wasn't there before for her, and that changed her life in a million ways. And she survived it, and she did great in being with it. I mean, it was wonderful to see how she dealt with this. She never rejected the allopathic road. She integrated all of these roads together. She unified and came out with flying colors, and did not have any harm from the chemo and the radiation. I mean, yeah, she lost her hair, but man, did she rock that short hair that grew back, and she just looked beautiful all the way, because she never resisted any of these things. She just allowed the medicine to do, because also chemo is God. If everything is God, then chemo is also God, and radiation is also God, and toxic things are also God. Otherwise, they would not be. Everything is source or creation, creation source, or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. I call it God because it's easy. Source. And if everything is source, then everything is source. It doesn't matter how it comes around. Again, no villain, no story. And these things can all be so beautiful. Like, I have so many spiritual people, they never take a headache pill. I'm like, why do you suffer? Like, of course, don't take the headache pill and then go running about like you have no headache. But take the headache pill if it exists. Take it and allow it to support you in resting on the sofa more comfortably. Like, it is, everything has its place. Yes. What is it? She wants to talk to you.
She knows Allison's home, and she also knows it's almost time for her snack, her afternoon. Okay, Cookie, hang tight. We're almost done. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is my take on all of this. Like, really use your mind to uncondition and accept that maybe even the worst things are the best things for you. Don't wish for particular things, because that might never lead to the success of something. That's one of the things that all my trainees learn first, to throw all their vision boards away. And I'm not saying that they are not important. Sometimes they are important in order for you to even know, where do I want to go? Find out what is my desires. Maybe that those are needs that you should also ground, like, and say, okay, maybe this is not even who I am. That's why it's so important that we learn who we really are. That's why I do the training, because it's not about creating healers. The healing effect when somebody knows who they are. And that is, to me, the greatest gift in life. And that empowers you to get everything that in the end is really true to you, which is everything, because we are abundance in every way.
And also when we're, more in touch with who we really are, our desires change, right?
Yeah.
What we want in life. Like if I was still, the person I was 25 years ago, if you would have said, okay, I'll grant you 5 wishes. I mean, those 5 wishes wouldn't have been things that ultimately served who I am today anyway, right? I would have thought way too small or been misdirected to something that wouldn't really serve me.
Meaningless, maybe.
Yeah. So there's that of just like, if you don't know who you are, how do you know what you really want, right? Yeah. But also I think in my experience, so many things in terms of external goals and just in the material plane of things that I want in my life, a house, or this, whatever, right? It's not actually... It's not the achievement or the possession in and of itself, or a perfect partner or whatever, right? It's what I'm really wanting is the feeling that I think I'm going to have on the other side of that, right?
Yeah.
But I can have that feeling without the thing actually happening, right? So I think, oh man, it would be amazing to go to Hawaii. I love Hawaii. Why? Oh, it's this feeling I have there. It's just like...
Well, you can have the feeling without
it. Yeah, exactly. Like I could sit my ass in this chair and manifest, quotes, the same feeling as I have sitting in Hawaii on top of a volcano or at the beach or whatever, right? It's like...
You can entangle with every single thing.
That's the thing that I think I'm going to get from that. To me, that's been like one of the most powerful practices. Not that I still don't, try to achieve the goal, but it's like letting go, I guess to your term, deprogram is like letting go of the belief that external circumstance needs to be a certain way for me to have the experience that I want in it. What if I just have the experience by itself? And then the thing is actually much closer because it doesn't seem so far to reach because I've already sort of experienced the fruits of that thing manifesting in reality, right? Yeah. It's like I'm already there. There's a resonance that's even stronger now to said outcome because I'm already embodying, the experience of what it feels like. It's like a major shortcut to that kind of manifestation. Totally. And also much easier to surrender the attachment to that outcome because I realized, oh, well, the thing didn't happen. It's easier to accept because I already have the feeling that I thought that thing was going to deliver. Right?
Exactly. And then you become free.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate freedom.
It's a cool, it's like a positive feedback loop. 2 things I wanted to ask you before we end here, because Cookie's about to jump over the balcony.
Yeah, she's like, I want to go to my mommy now.
I thought of this earlier when you were talking about, you having some awareness of your past lives, right? How you were existing in kind of the unmanifest without a single point of focus in consciousness, right? You're just kind of in the field of consciousness. Yeah. Actually, there's a couple parts to this. One is this idea that, we think of past lives. And even in my first Bufo experience, that was the only time in my life I've ever had a very clear sort of vision of past lives, right? But as I've evolved in my understanding of the nature of reality, it seems very clear to me that the construct that we use as time is just that. It's a construct, that there's just an eternal presence of awareness that is outside of time, and that our perspective, I'm sitting here with you right now, so I see this as the now, but it's not really the now. It's just a now because this is where my attention is focused, right? Your attention is, yeah. Right? So it's like if the multiverse of the simulation we're in exists beyond the concept of time, then rather than there being past lives that I've experienced, they're simultaneous lives. They're just other lives that are going on that are stacked on top of one another. So if I was,
not even on top.
Okay, so I'm giving you my model as far as I've gotten with it. I want to see where you take us.
It's hard for the mind.
So, okay, so say in that Bufo experience, I saw these lifetimes in India, just like I was a seeker, a devotee, just I don't know how many, just dozens of lives seemed to unravel, right? And it showed me that I've been seeking or devotional to God for a very long time. So I perceive that to be sequential in terms of, well, I'm now, it's, 2018 or whatever it was, and that was in maybe the 1500s or something, right? But if there's no time, then all of that is happening in one eternal now.
Yes.
What's your take on that in terms of past lives?
It is exactly like that. That's the only reason why my, for instance, consciousness can even hold that amount of time, because it is not that huge amount of time. It is just one now. So sometimes I have to sort a little bit what is past, what is future, what is present. When I'm not really present in this moment, then it could be that the past slips in, or that the future, because if you have the memory of it all in this present moment, like the only way how you can really be good with something like this is when you're really present in this moment right now where my attention resides. And that's why so many people are so powerless, because they drift off in the past or in the future. Fear is a future thing, and then reminiscing in the past, everything was better, or like, oh my God, this was so horrible, or like all of that stuff, like is not having worked through the past brings people out of the now, and then they're completely at a point of powerlessness and can't do anything about anything anymore, because they're not in this moment where that's the only time where we can do something. So past life is, it's just a part of our story. And when our attention resided in that moment of time, which is right now, like everything is right now. Everything else is an illusion. Like sometimes after Bufo, which has brought things that I always knew into so much more graspable understanding from the mind perspective, because we're trying to understand something with the mind that the mind is not equipped to understand. It's like we're asking our foot to do the digestion. Like this,
it's like trying to explain flying to a fish.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe a flying fish could understand.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah, maybe one type of fish. But yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Is we're fortunately and unfortunately equipped with this intellect, which is how we reconcile our reality. But the reality that some of us are yearning to grasp and understand exists dimensionally in a different and higher place than the mind could ever understand. So it's like we have this radio and we're trying to tune into
so a
station that's in a completely different universe.
Yes. I mean, that's totally not fair to ask the mind to understand that right now with the capacity that we're using. One day, we will use so much more brain capacity, maybe all of our brain capacity, and then we become everything and time dissolves. And we will all get there eventually, because we're already on the way back in. And then we will come out again. And there's multi versions of this existence cycle, like the Thoros, like that we often see depicted, like in the middle is basically the beginning of creation. And then we are in a path away from source, and then we return to source. So it's a path of separation. But then there's existence forms. They're all simultaneous, all at the same place, all happening now, where we don't have an experience of separation. We're in a constant state of experiencing ourselves in unity, and there's still a flow, like there's all, and everything in between. And so we think this is the only one, but this is just the one where you and I have our consciousness residing at the moment. And there's beings that can easily switch from one into another dimension, and so all the things that we often see in movies and stuff, like they are not so far away from the reality. It's just the way how humans try to make sense of that reality that is impossible to make sense of. How do you make sense of unity while you live in duality? And your mind is not equipped at the moment. So we mustn't ask the mind to understand these things. We must let these things be understood from a place of acceptance, and that is our heart. That's where we can accept these things as whatever they are, and not even try to figure it out so hard. Like so many of my students want to figure it out and want to know it all, and to And then I said, just stop thinking about it so much.
Tell them they should start a podcast.
Yeah. And uncondition yourself. You know, like that's the best.
I get to sit with people every week, you know, and ponder these kind of questions. You know, there's another one along those same lines, and this one I think for me is a little bit. I don't know. I'm not afraid of many things. And after Bufo, especially, I'm much less afraid of death. But in this idea of reincarnation, there are some people who believe that this samsara, you know, this cycle wherein we leave a body and we go toward the light, right? And we see our relatives there and stuff, that it's actually like a trap to keep us caught in this sort of energy harvesting system, right? Because we know there are dark parasitic forces here in the earth realm, right? And we've reconciled that duality earlier in this conversation. But let's just say one has a desire to go to the place where you once were, right? In the realm of totality and not being within this cycle. Maybe we decided to come here to be of service, you know, just with the highest intentions of love, right? And we knew the challenges we would face here. Brutal childhood, alcoholic parents, we get molested, you know, whatever, right? I'm speaking from personal experience.
Yeah, me too.
So
we didn't have alcoholic
you know,
parents.
I can like reconcile how difficult and challenging this lifetime for me has been, for example, but I don't know, there's a part of me that's like, I think I'm good, you know, like I get it. I've learned how to love. I think I've accomplished what I came here to do, which was like to really, really learn how to love, not in a sense of I love you, but just the field of love and total acceptance, all the things we've talked about. But I do have a fear that, you know, when I leave the body,
that's all over again.
I'm going to get caught in the loop again if I don't make the right decision. It's like you turn left or you turn right. And one way is into the totality of allness again. And one way is like, boop, you pop into another body and go through this shit again. What is your take on...
Okay, I can relieve you of this fear.
Okay, please do.
Because first off...
it's like an existential crisis for me.
Yes. So we can totally stop that crisis right here and now.
Okay, great.
There's no chance in the world, unless you choose to, that you will go back into that loop. Because that loop has ended 2012. And that's what I meant with this world has ended. This loop kept us in the experience of separation, which we needed in order to get to where we went. Now we're on a path of unification. So all the tools that we used to get to 2012, and people ask me why 2012. I mean, it could have been any other number. You know, I went to the bathroom at 7:44 this morning. It could have also have been 8:12 or 4:15, or it doesn't matter. It just happened. Like energetically, that's that moment of ending the path of when we basically have gone so far that we can go no further away from source. That's when we are on the first step back to source, right? If you think about this, we're moving out, and now we cross the equator, and now it's from here on out, it's in. So all the tools that got us here, they are now, some people call this also all the rules that we accepted when we played that game are now obsolete. All the rules are gone. So we're not, so the karma wheel and samsara and all of that stuff has come to an end. And if you have awakened in this lifetime where this, I mean, we are the witnesses of this change, you will not go in there. And I can tell you, Luke, if you want, you don't have to die at all. Like our generation, I think we're the same age. Or maybe you're a bit younger than
54.
Me. Oh, so you're older than me. I'm 51. We don't have to die anymore. We don't have to leave this physical body if we don't want to. Like it's a little bit of a path, you know, like to get all parts of ourselves, but our systems are designed to live endless. There's no limitation to life, but we accepted a rule of dying. Our cells do the first 20 years in our life, reproduce in the full length. Every single cell does that the first 20 years, like approximately. For some it's a bit earlier and some later, but let's say it's about 20 years. So why should a cell not do for the rest of its existence what it knew how to do 20 years? It's because we accepted the rule of that we die, because only that could bring us into that wheel and that next stage, the action and reaction, like karma wheel and all of those things, we wouldn't have had if we are in constant memory of that we're divine beings, that we're all source, like we're not going anywhere again. So something had to be installed, things had to be installed to get us into this movement away, into the experience of all aspects in duality. And so now we have basically left this path, and some of us have come into awakening enough, and you belong to that group, especially after you have done Bufo, like because you start to accept something very vital to be in the place of being able to do this, and that is that everything is infinite. That is what you make, this experience you make in Bufo. And then it's just a matter of now bringing your conscious mind, and you're releasing subconscious programming, you're releasing the rules. Like one of the rules was, I have to die. Another rule, a big rule that we all accepted is God is outside of myself. And another big rule that we all accepted was the female and the male cannot be in harmony in creation together. And so all of these rules are like wiped off the table. We have a clean slate. Right now, there's no rules. Right now, it's all about figuring out how to do going in. And there's some of us that came here for this time, become leaders of this time. And they are using what is here to reform and do whatever needs to be done in order to get a movement. Like really, in the end, it's all about a movement. And so you don't have to fear that you go back into that thing, first of all, because it doesn't exist anymore. And second of all, because it is up to you. You will see in the next 20 years, we will experience things and abilities that we don't even think that are possible. And maybe not the masses yet, but some of us will. And so there is no need for us to age anymore. There's no need for us to die if we don't want to. And if we choose to die, then we will choose on our own terms. And I do a lot of death dueling. I don't know how you want to say that, with people that, like when people tell me, I have somebody that is dying, and so basically I guide the soul. So even people that may have not had any awakening at all in their life, there's still people like me, a lot of people like me that are amazing death doulas, that are there to help the soul to go into the next stage and not stuck and repeat, like at all. For instance, one very, very, very close friend of ours, like she's already back. She was back 3 weeks after she left, and I helped her leave and I helped her come back in. And so there's more people like me that know how to do these things. So if you know somebody like me, and you do know me,
well, now I do,
which you do, then even less worry. Let's say this still would exist, like that you would still not be in any danger, because then Alison would tell me if you were to leave before her, or the other way around, or somebody would tell me, or you call me and say, hey, Cru, I'm ready to leave. Can you help me transition into whatever I pick next? Then we'll go from here to there. To me, these worlds are all the same. Not one more real than the other, because they're all the same real.
Just like when the dog's dreaming.
Exactly. I was just going to refer to that. Dream world, real world, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
All right. Well, that feels good. I can get down with that.
Yeah. So don't worry.
When I was pondering that too, I mean, this is just the kind of shit I think about. I wish life was just more simple sometimes, but anyway.
Very simple. All you have to do is take care of the system. And then it is so simple.
But I was thinking about that, that sort of existential, the problem of existence or non-existence, et cetera, and how do you exist? But I also thought, well, I feel very clearly that I chose to come in this time under the circumstances by which I did, right? Perhaps one of the reasons I came in was to get to the point where I feel that it's unnecessary to keep coming back, or that I have the autonomy and have accrued the level of understanding and wisdom where it's not necessary to stay on that wheel in order to achieve the desired goal, because I already felt like I've achieved it, as I said, right? So it's like maybe it's a non-issue because I wouldn't choose to come back again because I did what I was supposed to do. I've seized the moment in this lifetime. Man, Of got a lot of juice out of this fucking life, let me tell you.
I know.
From where I started to where I am now, whew, that's like a lot of gains, in terms of like animal base level survival consciousness to.
But you were never at this animal. Maybe it felt like that to you. And maybe the circumstance looked like that.
Yeah.
But they were never that. Like you would never be here today the way how you are if that had been primal, like animal based.
Well, I didn't have access to the other dimensions of my being, like when I was younger. I mean, I was in addiction and.
I don't know, honestly, because if I look into your past, it looks very different to me than you would describe it. Because I don't see just what you experience as a human being. I see the whole story, and I can tell you that you fast forwarded many lifetimes with this drug abuse, because the drug abuse that cracked something open in you. Your circumstances cracked something open that might have taken longer, and so. To pick this, that's what that's again, we're coming back. Who asks for Lyme disease on their vision board? Who asks for parents that create an environment like this in which you resort to such traumatic experiences? You would never put that on a vision board, but it was the best thing that could have happened to you, because if I look at another alternative timeline for you, there could have been 2 more lifetimes for this to crack open. That wanted to crack open desperately because your soul was ready to fast forward, quantum leap. We have these things in humanity. We had the French Revolution was a huge quantum leap in humanity where we cracked something open, and that was not a joyful. I mean, nobody would put the French Revolution onto their vision board or meditate over that, manifesting a little war like that. It was horrible, but it was a huge quantum leap for humanity. Something cracked open with that needed to crack open, so we don't have to experience another few 100,000 years of stupidity or like separation, and the same thing we had with COVID. COVID was a huge quantum leap as well. We don't even understand yet what happened there, but whatever was intended to happen led to a huge quantum leap, and it was not fun for a lot of people. A lot of people have suffered from the vaccine a lot, and I mean, all of this dividing in families and stuff that happened because of pro and against, and all sorts of separation that happened. It looks like, oh my God, that was so dividing, but it was a huge quantum leap, and we haven't even begun to understand what that did to us as humanity in the best way. So sometimes when we're in it, it doesn't really feel very comfortable, but it's actually really good. And so I am this person on the sideline of your life that says, I cheered you on then and now for everything that you did. Every single thing was so necessary for you to be today who you are today. You would never, ever be the man that you are in every way, like as a husband, as a father to Cookie, as a brother, as a son, as a podcast host, and the person that you are in the world to inspire others and all of that. You would not be none of these things if you hadn't cracked that open. You were always all of that, but you didn't have access to it, like you said.
Yeah.
And all of this life that you experienced cracked this open in fast mode. So
I wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah. That's and that's the most important thing that we really see.
I think one of the most beautiful things about difficulties that we each face in our own way is that it's such potent fertilizer for empathy.
Yeah.
It's just I'm so grateful to have that capacity,
Yes.
to really be able to put myself in someone else's shoes and experience. It makes dealing with difficult people a lot easier.
Absolutely.
You know,
yes.
you know
what it's like.
you know the shit you've been through and how, the mistakes you made.
Like. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, just little things like I'll be in traffic and someone's, driving like a freaking maniac or whatever. And it's like, I just immediately have the thought, I have no idea what's going on in their life that caused them to be that unconscious or, dangerous or whatever. It's like, you have no idea what people are going through. If you've been through some shit, at any given time, anyone could be going through something even worse than you could ever imagine, So it gives you a certain level of, just understanding and grace, right? Especially if you've been given a lot of grace, which I have. I mean, my life absolutely was saved by God, just period. So if I was given that gift, then it makes it much easier for me to assign grace to other people, right? And just like give people space to be who they are, when they are, how they are.
Yes.
It makes life a lot smoother.
Absolutely. This lifts the separation, the illusion of separation.
Yeah.
And that is what creates this harmony, then inner peace for you and for whatever is around you. Like that's how it ripples into the world. This is how being a healer, I really think this is a bit of a funny term, this healer term. Not every healer has to put their hands on something and then zzz, and healing can be when somebody really is attuned with themselves and has found inner peace within their own grace and then delivering that grace to someone else.
Yeah.
That's healing. That is so healing.
So funny. This morning in my meditation, I was thinking about the term where I first heard this. Someone said to me, hurt people, right? Many of us have heard that. And one day, I don't remember when, but one day it occurred to me, the inverse is also true, that healed people heal people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the same exact dynamic, right? If you're a hurt person who hasn't yet addressed the ways in which you've been hurt, your very existence hurts other people, right? Like no matter like how hard you try, you're going to fuck up and you're going to hurt people much more. But in the same way, to your point, healed people heal people. And like you said, you don't have to be a healer with a massage table and crystals. It's like your very presence of having done the work on yourself has a sort of a contagious healing energy. That's just the fact that you're breathing, you exist, who you are as someone who's healed is healing to other people.
That's why I always say the only thing that you have to master is yourself, and then the world will be saved. Because if you are everything and you're saving yourself, then everything is saved. Because then your projection becomes whole. And that is a reflection of whole. So the projection is always the environment, right? It's what we experience. It's life itself. So every single thing is decided by our projection. And if there's still things in your life that are uncomfortable, then there's still something not resolved or something not healed. And it's not trying to fix what's outside of yourself. It is trying to go in and understand what is it that needs healing within me. So always coming back home, always, always, always. And then my projection changes and then the surrounding changes. And we are very prone, every one of us is in this loop of, oh my God, you did this to me, or that happened to me, and this hurt me so much. And even though I understand all of why you did it, and it's still sometimes things just hurt because we're also human beings. We also have, while we are the strongest part of ourselves, we're also the weakest part. We're all parts of ourselves, and we're not excluding anything. We can't just be the strong. We have to, in a dual balanced creation, we have to have both things equally much. And so we have this weakness, and to be in acceptance of that and understand, okay, there's something still in resonance, and we can go about it again and then change and then maybe this person that hurt us a lot will either fall away, or when it is maybe circumstance or a job that hurts us very much will fall away. because we don't have that projection anymore. So then something that attunes to this new state will arise, and then we have changed our circumstance without changing the circumstance, with just changing whatever needed addressing and healing in ourselves. That's why I don't train modalities like that. I teach modalities to help uncondition and do the medicine to help uncondition. But what I really teach is, who are you really? And how can you do that best? Master that. And that is such a ripple effect into everything. Kids will grow up differently because you will ask your kids and tell them, hey, I am this. Who are you? Tell me about it. You have a completely different approach to every single thing in your life if you know who you are. And that inspires somebody to tell you who they are or to find that out. Oh, I would love to know who I am. And what this feels so good. Like there's so much joy in knowing what you are and learning how to do that and then becoming a master of it eventually. Because what can you be a better master of than yourself? And that is the path of changing and inspiring. The grand scheme is changing and inspiring yourself. So it's always coming home to projection and reflection.
Tell us how people can work with you. What does that look like? And we'll put the links to the things that you do at lukestorey.com/cru, CRU 2. And then I've got a link here for your Path of the Healer training course, cruessence.com/Path of the Healer. But you guys don't have to remember all that. Just click on the show description. But what does that entail? How many people are in it? Is it online? Is it in person?
No, it's in person.
Okay.
I mean, it can be done online, but I don't recommend because it's such a beautiful experience to be in a group. It's very small groups. Like actually, the one that just started in Spain had 12 people in it, which is like 4 more than I normally have. But it felt right to have everybody there together. And so we did it that way. I work a lot individually with everybody in this training. That's why it's so small groups. And then we see each other 3 times in 1 year live for 6 days each. And there's 3 readings basically that you will experience with me live. And the one is where I read your essence. This is my gift to this creation, is that I know who you are. I know you. I have held you for so long that I know every single detail about your existence. And so I can tap into that and read this to you so that you can recognize yourself as what you were before you became any form. And so that is the first thing. And then they go into 5 months of integrating this with a monthly meeting that we have on Zoom, wherever they are. They're all over the world. And then we meet again for now, how does this essence relate to this life? And how does that essence want to express into this life? So they get a concept or a structure reading for this life. And then they go home and integrate that for 5 months. And then they come back and then we have silent time, integration time. It's the hardest block of them all. And then they get another reading, which is, what is your next step? How to take this now into your life? And the effects of, I've done this now for years, and it's some people come in with have never done any work. They just want to know who they are, and it changes their life completely without just by these small little things. And of course they learn how to move energy, how to manipulate a system and things like this. In the end, they also learn how to read Akashic records, and it's in the last block. It's the initiating of 8 chakra universal law. So you're held in a space of universal law, that you're not overriding somebody else's truth. And the initiation of divine mother presence within your chakras is your 9th chakra. So there's a lot of things that all help to have perfectly well-oiled machine, are aware of all parts of yourself. And for this to be the vessel of your source code manifesting into your life, like this will change your life so fundamentally. I met a woman on a conference a while ago, and she just saw me for these 15-minute readings that I do on the conference. So if you, I know this is not live right now, but the conference now, I will sit there again and read 15-minute aura readings and for people. And I told her to come to my training like 4 weeks later in Spain. So she took part, and I promised. She asked me, "What will I have from this?" And I said, "We will have this and this and this and this." And she said at the end of this week to me, said, "You made true on every one of these 5 things." And I didn't do anything special, just allowing what happens when you see somebody for who they really are and give them that, "Yes, Cookie. Yes, yes, yes. I know you know mommy is there. You should you good girl." So that's really what happens in the training. And then I have a enter one-on-one program that I do, but I'm trying to train people to take that over for me. And I really want to focus on training because there will be a level 2 training starting at the beginning of next year, which is basically everybody that finished knowing who they are and then maybe hopefully have done this for a minute, which so far I have seen only being successful. So I haven't seen anybody not succeeding in it. And then it goes into like specific qualities, like what did I bring into this life? Like we call them core competences. So it's a year of understanding what are your core competences and how can you complete these. And so this is basically getting a little bit more into detail. And it's not for everybody, but I mean, it's never wrong to complete all of your qualities, right? So basically, it's like if you think we're one big box of chocolates, and now every life we come with this assortment of these chocolates. We never, usually most humans don't come with the whole box. They come with an assortment every single time. It could be a completely different aspects of yourself that you come in this life, and then another one completely different ones. And so it's basically understanding which chocolates did I bring to manifest into mastership in this life. And under normal circumstances, like before we had energetic help and understanding where we're going, maybe very few of us were able to tap into that. And then, like you said, the person who raises goats, she tapped into it. You said you saw it in her eyes. She found it. So she found one of her core competences and completed that in her own way without even knowing that she did. Because, of course, all of us come with all of this. And some of us are able to access these things naturally. And then others need a little more help. They learn their core competences. Usually it's between, it can be many, but it's around 6. And then they learn over the course of years, which are they? And then how can they work on completing those? You can also complete them energetically, but that's a lot of energy work. It can be done by yourself. And if you know where to look and what you need to do in order to do that. And that's a very, very wonderful thing to do because, again, that projects wholeness, completion. And what kind of reflection is that? Completion. And so you have a very complete, fulfilled environment around you when you have that kind of projection. So all the life that everybody wishes, it's just a matter of understanding this game of projection and reflection and understanding that there's a subconscious mind that constantly projects as well, and that we need to cleanse and then get all of this here in order so that source code can manifest. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'm like, sign me up. Let's do it.
Totally.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for making the time. I know you're flying around the world and all these different places. I don't know how you do it, but the fact that you can do it means you're doing something right. But it's always great to see you and drop in.
Same,
I love you and your husband, Philip, who will be here probably in a couple minutes to sit down in that seat and have a conversation with me too. So thank you for joining me and thank you for doing the work you do.
Thank you, Luke, for having me again. And it's always so nice. We have this really wonderful flow, and there's no protocol. I love it. Like I just love it when we talk.
Likewise. See you next time.